Welcome to video 5. I realized at the very end of video 4, I accidentally hit the pause key. But really, hopefully, all that was missing was essentially when I made this topography, I gave it a height offset of -6 inches, and then I hit the green check mark to create it. And so now I have a site under my building. You most likely got a warning that said highlighted floors overlap. And I'll even cut my building open with this section box to show kind of what it was saying. So essentially, when we're looking at it sideways, this is our floor structure. It's 10 inches thick. So from where what we have as level 1, which would be our top of our floor, down is 10 inches. Well, for our site, we gave it a height offset of -6 inches, so it was warning us that this floor and our ground are overlapping. But we're about to go and fix that or change that. We're going to excavate out for our foundation, and we're going to do a regular T-sill style foundation within our building. So the first thing we'll have to do is create a level for our foundation. So you can go into any of your elevation views to do that. So I'm just going to go into my east elevation view by just double clicking on it here in my project browser. And then to create a new level is going to be either keyboard shortcut LL to start the level tool, or you can click on the level button on your architecture toolbar. Now for our level, we also want to create a plan view to go along with it, a floor plan view for it. So I'm going to check off create a plan view, and then I'm just going to eyeball mine. I'll put it 8 feet underneath. So I'm just waiting to see if that blue witness dimension is at 8 feet. And then I'll click once to start it, and I'll click twice to finish it. Now it named it level 3 by default, which probably isn't a great name for our foundation. So I'm just going to right click on it in the project browser, and I'm going to rename it to level 0 because that makes a little more sense in this case. And when I rename it to level 0, it's asking, do you want to rename the corresponding level? So I'll say yes. And now this here is level 0 as well. So let's now go into our level 0 floor plan. We can do that by double clicking on it in our project browser or double clicking on it in the spot elevation marker as well. And we don't really see much in level 0. And that's because we're 8 feet underground. So what we want to do is we want to give ourselves a view underlay of level 1. And if we move our cursor out, but we want to be looking up at level 1. So if I change this to look up, I now can see overall like my building footprint. And so I'm going to want to trace my building around this line here because that's going to be my stud. Now, if it bugs you that this topography is here in this drawing, which it's bugging me right now, I'm just going to click on the edge of it and then right click, hide in view element. Because I can't delete it, I still need it in my project, but I just don't want it visible here in this view. So what I'll do is I'm going to create foundation walls that are just going to go around the edge of my building here. So in my level 0 floor plan, I'm going to start the wall tool, which is keyboard shortcut WA, or this button up here. For my wall type, I'm going to use this 00 foundation wall for the Mount Laurel. I'll have a base constraint of level 0, and I'll make a top constraint of I want it to go up to level 1. However, I'm also going to give it a top offset of -10 inches because we brought our walls down earlier in the project 10 inches. So I'm going to do -0 space 10. And for my location line, I'm going to trace based off of the core face exterior or interior. You really could do either. So I've got my location line of core face, exterior or interior, base constraint of 0, top constraint of level 1. I'm then going to start on my corner here of my building. If you had exterior, you're going to go around your building clockwise. If you chose core face interior, you would just go around counterclockwise. So I've started right here on this corner, and I'm just going to trace around all of my exterior walls. Don't worry about those awkward corners. They will clean themselves up once we place this new wall in. That corner will get connected. So I'm placing my foundation wall so that way it's sitting flush underneath where my studs are. And then I'll hit escape 100,000 times and I can turn that underlay off. So I'm going to change that underlay back to none. And let's go look at our building 3D so we can see that we kind of have a foundation wall going around it. She's not done, but she's getting a little bit there or a little bit closer to it. Let's go back into our level 0 floor plan. And our next step then is we're going to add a footing underneath our foundation wall for each of them. So back in our level 0 floor plan, to start the footing tool is keyboard shortcut FT for footing. Is it? Oh, is it not anymore? Did I change it? Uh-oh. Yeah, I guess it's not. Sorry. So it's going to be this button here. So you're going to have to go into the structure tab, and then it's this button here for foundation wall. It's going to be a footing. By default, it's 3 foot wide and 1 foot deep. Now we spoke about it before, but your footing size is going to be relevant to the size of the structure you're building, as well as your soil bearing capacity, but we'll just leave ours as 36 feet. And then we can click on the wall we want to put a footing on. Now this warning here says, none of the created elements are visible in floor plan level 0 view. What it's telling me is we made your footing, you just can't see it in this view. So when these warnings pop up, please pay attention to them. If we hit escape a couple times, we can change our view so that way we can see it. And to change it, we're going to adjust our view range. So back in our properties panel for this floor plan, we can edit the view range. And instead of having the bottom of our view just be at where we have level 0, if we put it at -1 foot and also our view depth at -1 foot and click OK, we can now see that footing underneath there. So again, in the structure tab, we've got foundation wall. We then can click on our foundations. We can also hover on one and tap the tab key to get a chain of foundation walls all at once. So if I go back into my 3D view with my section box cut open, we can see now that we have a footing underneath our foundation wall. And our last step to finalize this foundation would be to excavate our building in here. So I'll go back into my level 0 floor plan, and I'm going to create a floor, and essentially this floor can be any style or any type of floor. It's just going to be something that we use to excavate our building for it. So I'm going to go back into my architecture tab. I'm going to start the floor tool. And again, it doesn't really matter what kind of floor you use. I'll leave it as this concrete slab. And I'm going to give it an offset of, say, let's say I'm not making this a full like basement area. So I'm going to bring it up about 4 feet, maybe even I'll do 5 feet. So I'll just have like a crawl space area from it. I'm going to hover over one of my foundation walls and then tap the tab key and then click to do the chain of them. And I'll want this on that outside of the wall, and I'll click the green check. When this option says or pops up, you're going to want to click on no for it. Then I'll go into my 3D view, and I'm going to excavate the site to this floor here for it. So in your 3D view, you're going to want to make sure you have your section box turned on. If you don't, it is this button here to turn the section box on. And then you're just going to want to slice your building open somewhere so you could see that floor. You'll click on your site. Then you're going to select Excavate. and then you're going to click on that floor that you just made. And essentially it's going to just dig out all of the dirt from inside of our building. If we decided to move this floor, so if I decided to put this floor at, say, negative, or not negative, but rather 3 feet instead of 5 feet, it will still just move where that gets excavated for it. Now, this floor is not actually part of our foundation. We don't want it in there. We just used it to excavate. So then I would right click, hide in view element. And now it's just not part of our drawing in here as well. So we can also create a 2D section view, and it's a lot simpler than when we're trying to do something like this in AutoCAD. So let's go back into our level 1 floor plan. And again, here in level 1 floor plan, let's hide our site. And then we can even bring like our dimensions back. So if I go into my hidden elements with this light bulb, I can click on one of my dimension strings and then either right click, unhide category, or I can even check this option here to unhide. Looks like I hid that one as an element on its own. And then I can get out by either clicking on this X or this button here. But we're going to create a building section. And whenever we're making a building section, we want to think about, can we cut through where some openings might be? So just because I've made this building before, I know that like a good building section I could do would go through around right here, because I can make it where it will go through this window, this door, and this window kind of all at once. So to create a building section, again, we're in our level 1 floor plan. We're going to click on this little button up here as our kind of shortcut. And don't worry too much about placing it because you can always move it, but I'm going to click once up here and then click or the second time down here, and I've already now made my building section. So if it's not going through this window, this one, and this doorway, you can click on the section cut and you can use your arrow keys to kind of move it. The more zoomed in you are, the smaller those arrow keys will kind of move the pieces around. We can also change which direction we want it looking at. So right now it's looking this way. If I wanted to flip it around, I can click on my little arrow to flip it. And if I wanted to break it so the line's not going all the way through, I can click on that gap, and then I can move it so that these section cut lines are not going through my whole building. Now to look at my building section itself, I can open it up by either going into this new area of my project browser called Sections and opening up Section 1, or back in my level 1 floor plan, I could double click on that section head. So within this view, we'll do a little bit of cleanup with our geometry tool. So let's first take our crop box and just drag it to be a little bit closer in. And then we're going to use join geometry and cut geometry to kind of clean our drawing up. Let's click on our interior wall and then let's adjust all of them. So let's right click, select all instances in the project, and let's attach them, attach the top to the ceiling. So that way those walls are going to the ceiling, and the plumbing wall as well here. Let's attach it to the ceiling, and this plumbing wall, attach it to that ceiling. Oh, did I not click it? Attach top. There we go. So we can either use join geometry or cut geometry to essentially make it that we have no overlaps of lines here. So join geometry and cut geometry do not have keyboard shortcuts by default, but if you installed the keyboard shortcut file I gave you, you can use JG for join geometry, or you can use CG for cut geometry, and you'll see your cursor adjust when you go into these tools. If you did not install the keyboard shortcuts, what you could do is click on literally anything at all in your drawing, and then join geometry is here, cut geometry is here. So let's first do our cuts for our geometry. So what we want to do is cut the site out of our foundation wall and out of our footing as well. Well, actually, first let's hide this concrete slab here. So again, this was what we used just to kind of excavate our site for. We don't want it visible in this drawing, but we can't hit delete because then our site will all come back. So I'm going to Control Z. So we're going to hide it. So we're going to right click on it, hide in view element. If we did hide in view category, all of our floors would disappear and we don't want that. And now let's do our cut geometry. So again, you could do keyboard shortcut CG and your cursor will turn into some crosshairs, or you could click on literally anything in your drawing and then the cut tool, and you'll click on your site, and then you're going to click on your foundation wall, and you'll see that that hatch is no longer overlapping here like it is over here. So again, then we're going to click on our site and we'll click on our footing. We'll click on our site and we'll click on that foundation wall, the site, and then the footing. So we just want to make sure that those hatches are not overlapping in there. Next, then we're going to use join geometry to make it so that all of these awkward overlaps are no longer happening in here. So let's do keyboard shortcut JG or click on anything at all in your drawing, and then it's this button here. And I can click on my roof to my wall to my ceiling in there. So join my wall to my ceiling. We may want to turn this multiple join option off so that way we can go from one object to another one. My ceiling to this wall, ceiling to wall, wall to roof. So we're essentially cleaning up anywhere where we have two pieces meeting. Wall to floor, wall to floor. Floor to wall, floor to foundation. Oops. That will need to cut. Foundation to footing. Footing, whoop, okay. So back in multiple joins, sometimes I don't know why that gets selected. JG, footing to foundation wall to floor, floor to regular wall, and then I've cleaned all that up. I'll use cut geometry here where my site is a little bit overlapping. So that's going to be keyboard shortcut CG or this button up here. And then we'll do wall, site and wall, site to wall. We can also increase our detail level from medium level to fine. So that then is going to show some of those hatch details that would be included in our drawing, as well as take care of a lot of our line weight systems for us, which is really wonderful and great. And lastly, if we wanted to fill in any of this with a solid fill or a poche, what we can do is we can adjust our visibility within this view. So I can go into Edit, and I'm going to adjust the visibility for a few different things in here. So within my ceilings, I'm going to do an override for the cut pattern. I'm going to give it a solid fill of gray, and I'll use this light gray. For my floors, I'm going to override any patterns they might have and do a solid fill of that same gray. And my roofs, I'm going to override its pattern as well to do a solid fill of that same gray. And then my walls, I'll override their cut pattern to do a solid fill of that same gray. So when I click apply, I can then see kind of what that's going to be changing. So I can see then this solid fill kind of going for where my building got sliced or my building got cut. And I can also go into my, I think that would be structural foundations. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So back in my visibility graphics, I can also do the same for my footings, just so everything that's getting cut currently. So in my structural foundations, I'll override the cut pattern to be a solid fill of gray. Then okay. So that way I have a pattern for what is currently being sliced through, just to kind of show where that section cut's being created. In our next video, we'll go over how to place all of these views on sheets and then export to a PDF document, as well as do a little bit of rendering.